Hi, and welcome to Websites for Beginners with JP, and this is Bricks Reconstructed. If you hear some noise in the background, it's raining very hard, but I'll try to edit it out in post, but you never know. It's really raining very hard on this side. What we're going to do today is we are going to reconstruct this Euro section that has been made in the Bricks builder, and I'll tell you soon a little bit more about Bricks. We're going to look how you work with the container within Bricks and then how you do all the responsive editing. After we've done this, which are the basics, we're going to move over and change it up a little bit. It's what I like to do, just make it a little bit different. And from there on, we'll bring in a background as well so that you can see how you work with background images within the container and even apply an overlay. This is truly for beginners, or if you've never worked with Bricks, this will give you a good understanding of how Bricks Builder works. Right, so question probably you have is, what is Bricks? If you are an avid page builder or site builder rather, fanatic, you definitely already know who and what Bricks are. And if you don't, let me show you. Now, I really thought about 2 or 3 years ago that we would be done with the amount of builders on the market. But 2 new ones that have come to light in the last year, Zion Builder as well as Bricks, have really impressed me. And the reason I'm so impressed by it, it's a full package, it's well developed, and few bugs for such a new product. So that's why I can highly recommend it. Follow the link in the description below. Go over to the Bricks website and you will find a lot of goodies here on what you can expect when you work with Bricks. And of course, the one thing I would point out at this moment is that they have this one-time payment lifetime license for 149 USD for 1,000, I think, or so licenses. And then after that, it's kaput. If you want to know more about it, go up here to the launch post that came out on March 16th when Bricks 1.0 was released. This will give you a very good summary of what you can expect with Bricks. But if you're not a reader, then you can just follow along with the video and see how we work with it. I'm really impressed with this builder. And one of the things I really picked up quickly was the speed of this builder. A lot of page builders come out bragging about speed, and I know for a lot of people it matters a lot. For most people it matters a lot. But not only on the front end and where visitor speed comes in, but even just with the builder itself. I found it to be super fast. It made it so easy to work, and I was working in local by Flyville, or just local at this moment. Great, so follow the link in the description below, go check out Bricks, and then let's jump into the builder and see what we can do here. I'm gonna close that. We've looked at what we're going to do, and I've also got it ready for responsive mode. So if you want to know how it will display on a Galaxy S or an iPhone 12, an iPad, all of these are responsive. So we'll build them out very nicely within the Bricks builder. For your information, I will refer to this responsive browser app a few times because even though most builders have a way to display responsiveness, I still find that having something like this that's really dedicated towards it makes it very easy for me to understand how I want to do my development. If you're curious about this app that I'm using, it's called Sizzy, S-I-Z-Z-Y. I'll also put a link in the description below for you. It's not free. There are some subscription models. I think I got this one as a limited lifetime license deal. Really try it out if you do a lot. It will really greatly help you to understand how your website will display on different devices. It's really well supported. Regular updates. Actually, the updates can be a little bit annoying, but check it out if you're interested. Honky dory, I'm going to close here. Let's go to my local and where is Reconstructed, start my site. And what I'm doing here is running it on my local server. That means I don't have to pay for hosting because it's just a practice. And if you're very interested in what I'm running here, also follow the link in the description below. Go check out local. It will help you to practice if you just want to practice along. And we go into our WordPress. Good. Here in my dashboard, I've got Bricks installed already. We're going to go to Pages, and then we'll add a new page. And I'm going to call this Demo 1. It's our first page. Close out. Demo 01. Publish. And let's just uncheck this Don't need to publish. And once it's published, all we need to do is click up here on this yellow block button, edit with bricks, and we go into the bricks builder. There is so much that we can talk about it, but in each of these episodes, we'll extend a little bit on what we've learned. But during the reconstruction bricks, we focus purely basically on the building, not so much on the features, but how do we create those blocks. This will be your entree into bricks. The first thing you will see when you create a page, the first thing you will see when you open bricks. And you're going to have basically 4 areas of importance. The first one is going to be your canvas area, your page. And this is here in the middle, this white big space. We all know this very well. The other 3, let's start here at the top. This area here, this is your toolbar. A lot of goodies up here that you will take care of. Then on the left, this will be a context panel. If you click here on these buttons up here, this will change according to what you have selected. Currently, it shows us the elements that we use for building up. Very important, on the right, it opens the structure, which is like a folder system of a framework system of all the elements and containers that you have on your page. And as we begin to work on that, you will see how this works. So where do we start? Well, in Elementor, we start with a section. In Divi, we start with a row. In Brizy, we start with a block. So it can be a block, a section. It used to be different until the 1.2 update for bricks. And what I mean by used to be different, they had very similar approach to what Divi had, like row, column, etc. All of that has been taken out, replaced with one element called the container. You'll see it over here. Everything that you do happens within a container. A container is a section, a container is also a row, and a container also serves as columns. It is just a very broad concept, and I know some will get confused, but where is my row? Where are my columns? How do I do that? You do that all with the container. The other thing is that this is a work in progress. It works perfectly, but we do know that as feedback comes back from the community, this will have some new features. Even as I'm showing you this button up here, which we'll talk about later, already has changed a little bit in a few updates. So that's great. Lots of development going on, always getting feedback from the community and bringing in those features to make it easy for you to work with. Now that we have an idea of what is where, let's go back to the page and let's start with the container. We've got these 3 buttons here: insert container, template, that's layouts, and then also understanding the layout. We're going to start here with insert the container. Click on it and a container hops onto the page. 2 things to observe. First of all, we have this orange box here, which is the color of the container. Second thing is here under structure, we have this label that says container. This is going to be the framework that shows us what fits in where. Currently, it's a container. As I hover over it, you will see it highlights to show that we are selecting it. It's not selected, we're just hovering over it. To select it, again, there's been some changes. It's very easy now. Simply click on it. Again, observe what happens here on the left. When I click on it, it goes into the container settings. And you can also see that here in the structure, this label for the container is now highlighted. If you don't believe me, just click out here and you will see it unselects that one. Deselects, unselects. Click back on it and let's see what happened to the container. We have here that little pencil that is our edit. It used to be the edit function. It doesn't really serve that now. It's now just a move handle. And over here we have a container within a container function. I'll show you soon. And then here we have draggable handles that can give us some width changes and height changes. I haven't really used these 2, but they are there and they do serve a very good function. So we'll get to them eventually through the tutorials. With the container selected, go to this little plus here, and I told you this will give us a container within a container, and this is where the flexibility of bricks really comes in. As I click on it, it's going to add another container. You won't see it now, but you will notice here on the right that we have now a container indented here under this one. This means that this container is a child to that one. If this gets very confusing, you can actually just put your cursor there and you can call this like your main container, and then you can call this one like a sub, whatever. numbering system or titling system you're going to use. Now, as I hover over it, you're going to see now that I have the orange, which is the main container, and then the blue is going to be the sub-container. So this little plus is not a clone or a duplicate. It adds another container within that container. If I go then to the blue one and I click again on this one, it's going to add another one. You can see here. So we can call this, let's call this second level, or would this be the third level? I'm not sure. And you'll see as I've clicked on it, I've selected it, and we have the pink box up here. We go to the pink box, there we see the plus, and I click again, and I can select this, so we call this third level. And it remains pink. After this, everything is pink. Now, how many containers can you go within a container? Quite a number, Bobby. If I go here and I just keep on adding, then you will see it will just keep popping up below it. This is really powerful. You are not restricted to how deep you can go here. Of course, don't go crazy. It's unnecessary. But you are definitely not restricted by it. Now that we've created this mess, how do we clean it up? From the structure panel, we have this one here, remove all. Let's see how you can first delete individual ones. Select this container, and it will automatically highlight the container that is selected. The first way is to right-click, and then you will see this context dialog box pops up. You can clone it. You can copy styles. We're going to delete it. I'll click delete, and it's gone. Let's do the same for this one. Click on it, right-click, and delete. There's an alternative. You can go over here, hover on the right side, and then you will have a few options here. All the way to the left here. If you click on it, it will delete it. And then, like I said, this one up here, remove all, you can remove them all. We need a container to really build out our website. So let's bring in the container again. This time, instead of clicking here on Insert Container, I'm going to go to Container here and click on it. You can drag, or you can just click and it will pop it in, and there we go. Now, here is an important thing that I will stress a few times that's going to throw you off if you're not aware of it. This is a canvas size, and it's set up here by this breakpoint, which is 1107 pixels. This is, however, not your display width, which is important to understand because the container you're bringing in is coming in with the canvas size. What does that mean? Let's go to the structure over here. This panel can be collapsed, and you do it by clicking up here on this structure icon. Click on it, and you will see it shifts everything. And now we can see the container, but we do see white space on the left and the right. This panel on the left can also be collapsed. For that, you hover here on the side, and here in the middle, you will see the collapse little icon, and it goes away. Now you truly have your full width, your viewport width, and you can see how it looks. And this is important to understand that the container that comes in at your canvas width. It's not exceptional. We see it in most builders, but it's important because you have these two panels on the side open, and these two panels are going to fit to the canvas size, which is this 1107. Let's bring the panels back, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Click here to bring in the left panel, and up here for the structure, we bring that back. Now to select, I showed you before, very easy, just click on it and you select it. And let's look what we've got here on the left. We've got content and we've got style. So the first tab is going to give us everything in terms of how the content is spaced and how it works. And then style, those are usually things like typography and colors. Everything that comes to how it looks, that's under styling. I'm going to add a background color here. So under style, go to background. I'll scroll up a little bit so you can see better. And then here, background color, select. And we've got a nice little dialog box here with the number of preset colors. And what I'm going to do is bring in my own hex code. I'll click here, and then I'll just type it in. In this case, I have one that I use, a standard gray called 363636. And there we go. So this is the gray that I'll be using for this one. Right. I'll just click here. I can close it as well. And let's go back to the canvas. Now, you will notice those little white borders there on the left and the right. And that is your cue that this is not full width to your display width. Let's close the structure, and you'll see what I mean, as well as this one, collapse. And if we wanted this to go full width, we need to make a few changes. Let's bring those two features back. Where is this one? Over here. Click again on the container. And now we go to the content. And this is where we're going to set it to display full width. You'll find that here under Align Container. And the one that we want to select is this one, Stretch. As I click on it, you will see those two little white borders disappear because it is now stretched. To view it in a much easier way, we can use the preview mode. I think it's called preview up here. So you go to the little eye and you can click on it and it's going to pop you into very simple preview mode. However, we don't see anything because strictly speaking, if I click on it and go back to the builder, there is nothing. This is an empty container. We need some content in it before we can see it. So let's bring some content in and we'll bring in a heading as we are building out that hero. Select the container and with it selected, you go to Elements here, click on the plus, and then you click on Heading. And it will drop it in there for you within the container. And you see, now that we've added that element, the container will shrink or expand according to the content that we've brought in. Now, when I go to my preview mode, you will see my dark bar up here and my text here, and it is stretched all the way full width. Let's go back. And the shortcut key that you have to remember, I'm very fond of shortcut keys, Control P on Office, and then Command P on a Mac. As such, very easy. Control P, you switch and toggle between the preview and the builder. Next to that is also another important one is the save, and that is Control S, Command S. Very easy, and it will even give you this little, every time you save, it says something else like grand, very good, skillful. Wow, what else can I go through here? Excellent. And you can go through that. Now we have a container, and within the container, we have an element. As I hover over the element, you will see it has that teal turquoise border. That's always an indication that we have an element on the page. And then we have the structure here on the right. That is a nice guide for you to see what's going on. If things become too crowded, you'll find them there very easily. Container, and then we have the heading within that, and we can also collapse it here if we don't want that to appear, if we need to free up some space. Let's begin building out. Click on the container, and the first thing we'll need to do here is tell this container that everything that we're going to add to it, to put it within center. With the container selected, under content, we go to align items. Items, everything that is inside the container, and we're going to pop it here on center, and you can see it moves to the center. Unfortunately, at this moment, we cannot see it very well because it's dark font against a dark background. We'll fix that very soon. Now comes, I have to say, one of my favorite features of any builder where you can drag on the page. It just makes it so awesome. With the container again selected, as I hover here at the bottom, do you see that little orange overlay there? Click and hold and drag, and this is going to add padding. This is to the bottom, and I can go to the top, hover, click and drag, and I add padding there. You can do the same on the sides. Very, very nifty. Click and drag. And also on the left. But, Bobby, there's so much more here. And this, I think, the best I've seen on the market. Go to the bottom and you will notice this little link icon that we've got here. There are 3 states. It starts with unlinked, which means if I click and drag, it's only going to increase the height of the bottom padding. If I click on it, it's going to say opposites linked. Beautiful, wonderful, masterful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, when I click here on the bottom, it's going to give the same value to the top and the bottom. Oh, thank you very much for that. So easily done. No bugs here. I've tested it how many times because a lot of builders out there have this option and it's very hicky. This one is beautiful. But that's not all. If I click on it a second time, it's going to give me all sides link. Now, when I drag it, you will see it's going to give me the same values for top, bottom, left, and right. That is really super cool. And just clicking again on it, it will unlink it. Now it's on an individual basis. Click again, opposites. And if you want to do it over here on the right, if I drag this one, opposites are linked. This is really smooth. I'm really impressed by this. Really good job here. If you want to have manual control over this, set it to a very, very specific value. Go to Style and then Layout. And then you will see your padding over here. You can link it and unlinked. Of course, you're not going to have opposites here. It would be nice if they could give us an opposite feature here. Put the right and the left next to each other. I think Divi does that. And then the top and bottom that you can also link it here. That would be pretty cool. While we are here, collapse this and let's have a look under style. We have layout, typography, background, border, gradient, and I'm reading things that you can read for yourself. What is important to note here, though, is that you see these little dots next to layout and background. They indicate that changes have been made to the default setting. Super. Again, I love this. Very easy to work with. And as I unfold by clicking on the layout label, you're going to see there is a little dot again next to padding. So nothing has been changed, margins, width, height, etc., or any of the other functions we have here. It's only padding. And what is great about this is I can go here next to that padding where the little dot is, and when I hover over it, it turns into a reset function. If I click on it, what do we expect to see? Click, and it goes back to the default settings that we had. You'll also see that the dot has now been removed next to layout because there's no more changes to the default. Let's collapse this and go to background. Let's do the same here. You see the color, and if I click here, it's going to take the color away. Awesome. Let's bring the color back. I'm going to just click here again, 36, 36, 36. This time before I leave, I'm going to click here on save. And it's going to add it over here. And that little green dot is going to show that I have used this color. And then let's close here. And then let's go again here and drag in some padding. I'll put this on around 100. And to the side, do I want to put, let's put a little bit of padding here, also 100. I could have just linked them all. Great, so we've worked with the container, enough of the container. Let's work on this element here and make it shine. Click on the element and you will see it says here now heading. That shows us we're working with the heading element. And over on content, we're gonna get everything for that. And then style, everything you can do for this element. To change the content of the heading, you can do that in two ways. You can go over here to the content area and type it in here, or you can simply select all the text within the element and then type in yourself. I'm going to type in here lorem ipsum. The first thing I like to do, if I have a dark background like this, I'm going to change the color of the text. And the moment I say color, we're talking about styling. We click here on style, typography, and then the color is down here. Click on that, and we see there's already a white as a default color set for us, and we're going to click on that one. At this point, if you've worked with bricks, you will know that there are themes and styles and save functions within this builder that are really awesome. I'm not going to feature those during this reconstruction, but we will get to that in a feature focus in the future. So just take note of that. There's so much you can do within bricks by setting up themes and easily apply them across your pages and your site. I've chosen the white here, and then I'll just click on it to select out. And now let's build out everything under typography. The first thing is I'm going to change my font. So if I click on font family, I'm going to look for Poppins, very easy, and select Poppins. Then under font weight, I'll choose 500. And then font style will just be your italics. Not going to use that. Text align, I don't need. Text transform, I'm going to put it on uppercase. And then for the font size, I'm going to put in 20. A few ways that you can change values within bricks. The first one is to select everything and just type in the value, like I'm going to do with 20. The next one is to use the up-down arrow keys, like so. And the other one is to click within the value area and drag with your cursor up or down. I love this one. But naturally, if you want that detailed control, you will have to select, and of course, there's a fourth one. This one here, of course, naturally. Completely forgot about that. Let's drag it again to 20. See if, yep, there we go. Line height. Now, line height is set in M, so don't mess around with the values here. And I've determined that the line height is by default set at a 1.4 M. This is the default setting within bricks. The reason I tell you that is often when it comes to headings, I prefer no line height at all and rather use padding and margins for spacing. Line height is very important when you work with paragraphs because it will give you the space between each line. This is a personal preference. It's completely up to you. So I just point out to you that I figured out that the default setting is 1.4 in case that matters to you. Let's reset it over here by clicking on the X next to line height. And then we go to letter spacing. We're going to leave that in pixels. You'll see the value up here. And I'll type in 2. There we go. And now I'm done with this. I'm very happy with this first tagline overheading what we have created. Now we bring in the main heading. Go up here to Elements, and the shortcut key on your keyboard is Control E, Command E, and this will open up the Elements panel. Let's have a quick look at what's going on here, what you can expect from the Elements panel. One thing I really would like is to have a collapse all function here. Currently, you have these categories, and you have to close them manually one by one. I would like to see a collapse all feature for this one, similar to what we have here on the structure on the right where it says collapse all. Of course, that's why you get the search elements here. If you have an idea of what you're looking for, you can search for it, but to give you an overall idea, I've collapsed them. Starts here with basic, and these are your main building elements. Container, you have the heading, which we've used. You have text, your button, icon, image, and video. Under this is general, so these are the ones that will help you, and there's a lot. Dividers, countdown, all the good guys, the usual suspects that you are expecting. Media, you're going to get some containers for carousels and image gallery, Instagram, and Twitter. And then you have also your WordPress. And then under this will come to your single posts that you're going to be using these for building out any of those dynamic data elements that you will need for your container. We are only going to stick to the basics because that's what we want to do in the reconstruction is understand the basics. To bring in, and what I want you to notice before I do that is that I haven't selected anything. I know that because there is no border here, as well nothing is highlighted here on the right. If I click now on heading to bring in my main heading, it's going to drop it here under the container. Not a good idea not to have it in a container. So how do I take it into a container? There are two ways. I'm going to undo what I've just done, and undo you can do up here where it says undo. Or I recommend use shortcut key, Control Z, Command Z, and undo that. The two ways then, let's click on the container. Make sure you click on the container, and then you go to Elements and click on Heading, and it's going to drop it under the last element that's already there. Control Z, Command Z, undo. The second way is to hold and drag, and you will see that thick gray line appears. And that shows you everywhere that you can drop it. So I'll drop it there. And again, there's a heading that appeared over here. Do you remember how to delete it? Right click and delete heading. So there we have it. Let's also delete this one. Right click and delete. Make sure you didn't select anything. Click anywhere on the canvas and then click again on heading. I just want to show you what happens when it drops outside a container and you want to move it. To move it, you can go here, click on the little pencil, and then you just drag it and you look again for those areas where it shows you where you can drop it. Alternatively, you just go here to the structure. Go to the right until it changes to a move handle. Click on it, and now you just drag it within the container, and we're going to place it under that heading. And there we go. Ta-da! Let's select it. And I want to add some lorem ipsum text here, a little bit more text. So let's go open another tab, loremipsum.io. This is a great generator for lorem ipsum if you ever needed one that gives you a little bit more than the standard text. So I'm going to select 5 paragraphs, generate it, and then let's choose something longer here. Urna it up to here. Copy. Let's go back. Select all the text. I triple click and Control V, Command V to paste the text. And now first I will style it out. Go to Style. Typography, change the color, choose white again, and then I would have preferred this text color to be at the top. Poppins, now you see I'm typing in Poppins again. Again, I'll show you later how do we set a theme so that I don't have to go and select Poppins every time I'm using a text or a heading element. It's already set as the default. Poppins, font weight, this one I'm going to put at 600. And then we're going to say text transform, uppercase, font size. I'm going to make this 40. And now I have to do a few things. I want to center align this text. You can either select all the text on screen, and then you will have this toolbar at the top from where I can select this one, align center. Or with the element selected, go to Style, Typography, and then over here, you will see it is now already to center. If I reset that, it goes to left again. Select it, put it to center, and there we go. It's in the center. Now I want to show you a very, very important thing that when working with the container within Bricks, that may catch you a little bit off guard. And it's going to be a solution of a few different ways. You'll find maybe something that works for you, but I just want you to take notice of it. With this long sentence I've got here, I actually want to break it into 2 lines. Novices will do this. They will click here with their cursor and they will hit enter or return on their keyboard and do this. Don't break lines. Just never do that because it's very bad especially for responsive viewing. Click backspace, keep it 1 line. I'll put my space back in there. What you need to do is either bring in padding or you change the size of your container so that you can squash it into 2 lines. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab my padding on the left and I'll click and drag it in. And then I will link it here and I'll drag it until I see it like that. See, I've got these 2 lines. Perfect. I mentioned to you also that I want to decrease a little bit the size between these 2 lines, the spacing. I'll go to typography and I know that the line height is set to 1.4, but I'm going to reduce it to 1.2. Then I want to add a little bit of space between this upper heading and then this main heading. Click on either of them and then hover outside. You see, this is inside, outside. That's your margin setting. Click and drag and I'm going to add space and you will see again here. We have the heads-up display. I'm going to put it on 35 pixels. Click outside. Good. Looks good. Here's the thing though, the one thing I warned you about. It looks all honky-dory. But look what happens when I take my structure area panel away. Now, this container of the element stretches. And what's going on here? Now, this is part of the flex model. I'm not going to go too deeply into it. But this element is stretching according to the size of the container. And the container at this moment is set to full width. Now, what you can do, if you want to make sure that it doesn't do this, that it keeps it here at massa and not when you move it, bring it only to this part, is that you're going to set a specific width for this container. So for example, I'm going to take away the padding for now. Or did we lock that? We didn't lock it. Link, opposites link. Okay, take it away. And with the element selected, I will go to Style, Layout, and then over here, where you see width, I'm going to give it a specific width in pixels. Let's try 600. Nope, that is too small. 700. Perfect. Now when I collapse the structure, it will honor that because that container is going to remain at 700 pixels. But I actually don't recommend this either. So what I'll do here is I'll go to the width and I will reset that to the width it was. And then let's bring the structure back. So to solve this, I will bring in a container within a container. So my first container is going to be the full width container. My second container is going to be my canvas size. Does it make sense? Let's see. Let me show you the solution. The first thing I'm going to do is click here anywhere, make sure nothing is selected, and I'm going to click on container, and it's going to give me a second container. I'm going to click on this container, and then align container, stretch it. Now it's fully stretched. Let's change the color like we did before, background. And because we have saved that color, I can simply go here to the bottom and select it. Now, these 2 containers are so close to each other, I cannot see the difference. So I'll just go to the margin area, click and drag to give us a little bit of space between these 2. I'll bring in a text element again. Go to plus, make sure it is selected, and click on heading over here. Lorem ipsum. Go to Style, Typography, change the color first. White. And then we quickly go through this as well. Make it Poppins. Font weight, put it at 500. Text transform upper, and we put it at 20. Oh, that's 200, 200, 220. And then for the letter spacing, we put it at 2. And then we center it to the container. So we click on the container, content, and over here, align items to the center. Nothing different to the previous one. Let's save it, Control-Command-S, and then to see the preview, Control-Command-P. Everything still looks the same, right? Control-P to go back. Click on the container until you see the orange line, and now go to Elements and add a container within that container. Click on the second container, which is blue. And now I want you to collapse the structure over here so you can see the difference. This container is set to the canvas size. The container outside it is set to the display, the full width, to ensure that when we want to create something like this, it responds to the canvas size. You put a container within a container. There are so many ways you can achieve this. This is really just one of those ways, but I found that it really works very well for me. What we need to do now is bring in all of this content within the container. So I'll click here where I see the move handle, and I'll drag it in and let it go. Now I also have to make changes to this container, align center, and there we go. I'll go to this element, drag it, and drop it under this one, and then click on the main container. Let's link it again. Put it on 100, like so. Okay. And now, instead of putting padding on the outside container, I'm going to go to the blue container, the inside one, or for all intents and purposes, we often refer to it as a column. I'll click on this one, and now I will bring in the padding. So first thing we'll have to do is just click on this one here, make selected, and I'll go to all the styling, and I'll take away all the layout. So it's back to the default. And all I did was click here next to layout to reset it. Now I'll go to the blue container, select it, padding, drag, link them. And now as I drag, I'm going to get the same effect. The difference is, doesn't matter if I have less space or more space, it's going to remain the same. I won't have problems with it breaking into another line or not breaking as I wanted it to break. Let's delete this one up here. I'll go here under structure to the right and click on delete. And then for this one, we can remove the margin at the top. To do that, I'll just go to style, layout, and here where the margin is, go to the left and reset it. Brilliant. Let's add some space here. I'm going to click on this element, and then we bring in again. We put it at 35. 35. Great. Now that was a long workaround. It isn't. Once you understand how it works, you will understand that you have your normal block or your section, and then when you bring in content, you usually have it within a column. That's a good idea. So think of this as a section, and then think of the second container as a column. This will make your styling, especially when it comes to responsive design, so much easier. Love it, love it. So flexible. And you can see over here how it works. You can even call this one column if you want to. Next, we'll bring in a button. So simply go here to Elements, and I'll click on the button and drag it, and I'll drop it here. Oh, it drops there. No problem. I just drag it, and there we go. I'll add some, click on it, outside, bring in some padding. I'll think I'm going to put this at 75 pixels. Great. And then to change the text, I select all, and we will say view more, and I'm typing in caps this time. Add padding. So in the middle, drag, and then I'll link it first, both sides, and I'll put in around 40. Come on. Let me go to this side. Okay, didn't link. Let's try again. Opposites linked. Okay, 45. I like that. And the top padding, I'm happy with that. Select it, click on it, and then over here we go to style. I'm going to change colors, background. I'm going to put it on white. Great. That's enough for me. And then the typography, we have to change that as well. Same procedure, put it on Poppins. And the font weight, we're going to put on 300. And we already have it in caps, so no need for that. And then the font size, I'll put it on 16. And line height, not going to mess with that. Letter spacing, I can put it on 1, give it a little bit more space. I think that is good. What I want to do with the button at this moment is I want to give it a hover status so that when people hover over it, the white will fade out a little bit. To do that within Bricks, you have a complete hover state function up here. In the beginning, I thought this was like selection tool. I switched it on. I didn't realize it was hover, and I messed up a lot of the work I was doing. So note that that little arrow there is for your hover state. When you click on it, you're going to actually see that Bricks will tell you you are currently editing hover styles. And if you want to go back to the default display, you just click here on Edit Normal State. All the changes we make now while in this state will apply only to hover. So we want to do that to our button, select the button, and the only thing I want to change is the background color. I go to background, and I select white, and I will decrease the transparency a bit. And now we can exit it. Click again here on hover styles. Now we're in the default view. And as I hover over it, you will see it changes. There's a lot of other stuff we can do here as well, like transform, make it a little bit bigger, etc. We'll just stick to this one at this moment. Let's save our work. I'll go here to save, and then let's preview it. And as I hover over it, you can see it changes, indicating to the user that, hey, this is something you can work on. Let's bring a link in here. Click on it, and you go to link here in the panel. Under link type, you have a few options. We're going to choose external. And then over here, we're going to put in the lorem ipsum generator. So I'm just going to select this one, copy, and then paste it, Control V, Command V, and then scroll down, open a new tab, yes, save, well, preview. And while in preview, you can view it on the front end by clicking on this button. View on front end, and it opens the front end for you. As a visitor, will see it. Sometimes the preview is not going to give you that 100%, but when you do it like this, it's going to give you a little bit more reality. If I click on view more, it will open the lorem ipsum generator for us. Absolutely stunning, awesome. How convenient, how super. That's how quickly we had built out this hero block, this hero section. Let's just click here again on back to builder. I want to give it a little bit more padding here at the bottom. Let's make it 120. Let's take quick stock of what we've done here. We've brought in a container, this one, which is our main container. And then I've added another container inside it to act as a column. It makes it much better for your styling and layout, especially when we get to something like your responsive design, which we'll touch on very soon. I brought in elements. I have a heading. Then I have another heading as my main heading. And then I have a button over here. And we've added a link to it as easy as that. Let's talk about responsive design, which is our tablets and our mobile devices. Very, 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 very important. And that you can see up here. You can also use the shortcut keys, Control or Command B. The breakpoints are set here. So when we go to tablet portrait, it's 992 pixels. And over here, we have the mobile landscape. And then we have mobile portrait, and you will see it's 478. Still a bit big, and you'll see soon why I mean by still a bit big. But let's go back to our main display, which is for our desktops and also for our laptops. Control B, Command B takes us to tablet portrait. The moment you enter this state, anything that you can change will appear in the style and the content. And those things you cannot, well, you cannot. We know two things here for this one, that there's too much space here and this doesn't look good. As we're in tablet, well, maybe the font size is still big enough. We can reduce it a little bit. I click on the element, go to style, and then under typography, you see it shows us that we currently or previously put it at 40 pixels. I'm going to reduce it, let's say 30 this time, 30 pixels. It's still 3 lines, which I don't like. But because we made changes to this blue container, all I need to do is grab the blue container, click on it, and let's link the opposite sides, and I will reduce it until I get that effect again. Beautiful. I go back to desktop. Nothing has changed. I go to my tablet, and now we have this setting. We go to mobile landscape. Similar procedure here. but very important, and I'll talk about that very soon. Let's reduce the typography, the font size. This time I'm going to put it around 26. And then we click on the blue container and we link it and reduce until we get to that sign. And then let's do the same for our mobile portrait. Here we'll have to reduce the typography quite. I'm going to put it at 18. And then same thing, link, and there we go. Nice. I'm actually going to drag it quite a bit so we have it like that. Even the button I am inclined to make smaller, but good practice is when you are working on a mobile device to make sure that your links, your buttons are big, because it's very difficult for people to press it with their thumb. And actually, when Google scores you in terms of your rating for your site and they go into your mobileness, your mobile responsiveness, they look at the size of your buttons and they will tell you, hey, your button is too small or your buttons are too close to each other. Remember that when you're working with mobile devices. It looks all well here, but this is unfortunately where page builders fall a bit short. We get the breakpoints from left to right, which is our viewport width. But when we go to a mobile landscape, we don't really get the height. So for example, you would think this will look good, but I'm going to show you how it will actually display on a mobile device. So I'm going to grab this URL here, Control copy, and I'll go to my developer Sizzy. This is the demo, so I'm going to bring in the new one, Control, and let's reload that. I don't think I saved it. I didn't save the work, so that's what we get before we made those changes. Horrendous, I say. Right, let's go back. Let's just put it on desktop and remember to save it. Control Command S. You can even preview it again. Looks good. Now we go back to Sizzy, Sizzle, and reload all devices. And we should get it looking good now. This is a Galaxy S9 at 360 pixels resolution for the viewport width. It looks good. You see, it doesn't break that well. A few settings we may have to change here. Why are they too masa? Interesting, I didn't even notice that. But what I want to show you is if I take this iPhone 12 and I rotate it, landscape, you see now it looks like this. And this is the rotate function, this breakpoint that we see here. When you get here, you really have to take away some of the padding at the top and the bottom. So let's link them, reduce it like so, and even click here on the button and we reduce this. And we're going to click on this one. Where's the container? And I'm going to just bring in, there we go. Let's link it, opposites link. There we go. Two masa next to each other. Right. I think this looks better. I think we can also reduce some of this margin up here, put it to 20. And let's even reduce that font size. Typography, it's at 20. I'm going to put it on 16. Okay. Save your work. Control Command S. Let's go and view it now on this one. Reload. And it should be much better, much better. So now you get the idea of what I was telling you, where the problem comes in with many of these devices, that even though it looks good in the builder, it gives you an approximate of how it will display. And 99% of the time, it's pretty good. But just take a few things into consideration, that when it goes into landscape, you actually have a very wide view, panoramic view, but you will need to take some of that spacing out at the top and the bottom. However, when you go to a tablet like this one here on the right, you will probably bring in some padding again. And over here, our cell phone looks, again, a little too cramped. This doesn't look good on a cell phone. Let's go back here and we select a mobile portrait. And what I'm going to do here is simply click on our main container. Let's link it and do this. And in this case, I will click on the button, bring in more space. Let's click on this one and link it and reduce it like so. And save. I think that should be fine. Let's have a look. Did bricks impress? Does it sizzle? It does sizzle. Look at that. Sure, I always breathe a big sigh of relief when it works like this, because if you've worked a long time, especially with Gutenberg editor can drive you nuts when it comes to responsiveness. I'm always quite interested in what other people know that I don't know when they praise the Gutenberg editor, because when it comes to the responsiveness, you just don't get the flexibility like you get here within the Bricks builder. Absolutely stunning. We've basically gone through everything, but before we do that, I'll just go back to the break or the desktop one. I just want to point out a few things. Let's start here with our main container. As you click on the container, you will see you have a position for an HTML tag. It's set to div. You can put it to section if you want to designate it as such. If you click on the text, your HTML tag by default is set to H3. Same for this one, it's H3. But this one, we probably want it to be H1 or H2. I usually go for H2, so I just put it on H2. And the button, of course, it's just a button. A lot of stuff that we're still going to cover in other reconstructed videos. This one, we've got it so far. So let's make a few changes here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this entire container, and we're going to make it a light container or a light block. I'll go to the container here on the right, and then here you have the clone or duplicate function, and it will give us two. You can see here, if I click on collapse all, I only have container and container. Very difficult to see the difference between the two. Like before, I'll click on this one, hover outside until I see the margin handles, click and drag, and let's give it about 100 pixels space, just so we can make a difference and differentiate between these two. There we go. First thing I'll do is change the color of my elements, my heading elements, under typography, color, and I choose this one that we've saved, and it's going to disappear. And then style, typography, also change this one out. And now I will click on the container and change the background to white. I also can just reset it, and it gives us the white background. Add a border. Go to border and box shadow, click on border, and I'll give it all around 25 pixels border. And you have to select style here, put it on solid, and then the border appears, and I'll give it the same color as this one that we've saved. Change the button a little bit, click on the button, background. And I think this time we're not going to give it a background. Okay, let's just clear it. If I click on clear, no, that doesn't work. Let's put it on white. That's not 100% white. Yes, that's F5, F5. I didn't even pay attention to that. Going to drag it all the way to FFF. There we go. And then let's give it a border, background, border, border. Going to give it 2 pixels all around. Again, give it solid. And we put the color to the one we had saved. That looks pretty nice. Muy, vaya muy. And that's it. In a jiffy, we've created the dark version, and I've created a light version with a border. Now let's bring an image and see how that works. Again, I'm going to go to the top one over here. I can right click on it, and I can select clone container, another way to do it. This one is now here between these two. I want it to be at the bottom. So all I do is go to the right. Once I see the move handle, I click and I drag it under this container. Scroll down. Let's click again on it. Container. Outside and add margin so we can see the difference. I love it. When things just run so smoothly. Get all excited. 100 pixels. There we go. And now I'm going to bring in an image. So we do that within the container. Click on it. Background. And we can reset the color. Select image. And media library. Oh, no image. Let me quickly grab one. I open my Explorer where I grab this image. Click and drag and drop. Insert, and voila. One thing to note though here is that its layout is set here on the background position to top left. I recommend in most cases you're going to have it at center. So I will put it on center from the beginning. If it becomes a problem later in mobile or tablet, you still have that responsive power over it. Now this is pretty awesome. Everything is great, so I can save. And we can go to our SYSI and update to see how these other two blocks will behave. And the great thing is because we already made them responsive previously, they're going to also be responsive for these guys. So if I just scroll down, Here we have a desktop at 1920 HD and a MacBook Air over here. And as I scroll through it, you can see this is our light version. And this is our version with the image. Beautiful. Naturally, we need a little bit more contrast when it comes to an image like this, where we have a dark background, like the greens over here. But the skin here, where the button and the majority of the text are, is just a little bit too light. We cannot read it that clearly, so we bring in an overlay. Go back to the builder, click on the container, and then let's collapse this background, and you will see gradient overlay. Select this, and then under apply to or next to apply to, you are going to select overlay. This is an overlay that you want to apply. Click on overlay, and then click add color, and I'm going to add, click on the color, I'm going to add a black. The moment I do that, you see it overlays with a black color. To give it a transparency, you have to reduce the transparency of the color. So I click here and drag it, and bring it down quite a number to about 0.3, which is 30%. And that takes it into RGB. The moment you bring in transparency, we are on RGB. Don't get caught up in that though. Good. And we can just click outside here again. Or how do I get out of this one? Click here. Okay, good. And the great thing is you can even bring in gradients here. So if you want to bring in a gradient, a second color, you see we have color 1. I click here on add color for a second one. Again, select the color, I'll add black. And now you will see the gradient as such. And this is very nice. Often people think of gradients, you bring in a white on the one side and a dark color on the other side. But it's also very cool if you have a gradient that's just one color, almost like a fade effect. So I'm going to also put this on black. But I'm going to reduce the transparency to around this 0.6. Very nice effect that we have here. And you see, you can even drag these two around. Let's save our work. And I'm going to go to this one and just click on it, layout, and add some margin at the bottom. So we have some white space at the bottom also to work with. 100. Let's scroll down. Save it, Control Command S, and click on your preview mode. There we go. Looks good. Excellent. I love this builder. And then if we go to Sizzy and we refresh, you can see that it just works and displays so well. Very nice. And fully responsive. There is so much that the Bricks Builder gives, and then so much more coming. I think next in the pipeline is a WooCommerce Builder, but there is really an amazing amount of features here that you're going to find in the top builders in the market at this moment. I kind of feel Bricks is a combination of so many good features that we see in other builders. If you come from Oxygen, you're going to be happy with it. If you have used Elementor, there's going to be things that are familiar with that. Divi, you're going to find certain features in that. It's really very intuitive to use, and I think very well thought out and, in my opinion, user-friendly. Of course, with the container, you have to kind of get your head around it. And in the next video, we're actually going to be looking at how you can create columns with that container, or I think the video after that. Great. That is Bricks. It's an introduction to Bricks, the first part that we have reconstructed. Hope that was helpful. See you next time. From me, JP. Have a nice day.